There are more of us. Hello, what have we here? And welcome to There Are More of Us show. Wow. Alex and Mollie, how's it going?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for being here. I enjoy your work, and I'm sure everybody that follows me knows who you are. But I thank you for being here. And if they don't know, what kind of content do you guys
Star
Uh,
Trek.
yeah.
make?
we talk about Star Wars every single day. Books, comics, shows, movies, games, whatever's coming out, we talk about it.
So how long have you guys been doing this?
This is our 10th year. We're
Mm.
on season 10, I guess.
Ooh, yeah, I like referring to it as seasons.
Yeah,
That's new.
we started in 2015, so when we hit 2025, that will have been 10 full years.
Yeah, for the 10th anniversary of The Force Awakens. That doesn't make me feel old at
Oh.
all. So, what is your Star Wars story? You guys are both Star Wars content creators, but where did that journey into Star Wars start for both of you?
Mine started when I was 7 or 8. I can't really remember. I think it was in 1994. But the Olympics were going to be in Atlanta, where we live, and so they built like Centennial Olympic Park. And my parents took me down there to see the park, and we were just walking around. And I still don't fully know why a person was dressed up as Darth Vader there. I am going to guess that Dragon Con was happening, which is near Centennial Olympic Park.
Yep.
But I just like Darth Vader walking by caught my eye, and I was like, "Who is that?" And my dad very excitedly explained to me who Darth Vader was. And I was like, "I'd love to see these movies." And he was like, "Yeah, you're old enough." So we went home, and they had it like taped off TBS or TNT or something. And so we watched it, and that was it. I was instantly obsessed.
Yeah, I don't really have like a specific memory like that, but I was kind of always a fan growing up. I was always very much like a tomboy growing up. I had a lot of friends who were dudes and they would talk about it a lot. And so I just kind of got into it through them, I think. And my
Mhm.
parents had the gold VHS box set of the original trilogy. I remember owning that. And it was always kind of just there. And then when we got together and I found out how much just random trivia knowledge he had about the universe, I was like, "Hold on. How do you know all this? Why?" I had so many questions. And so just being introduced to so much more of the universe through him kind of got me hooked into it even more. And then when we started doing the channel, it just took off from there.
Mhm. I didn't know y'all were in Georgia. That's where I was born. It's where I lived for quite a bit. So when you're talking about the Olympics, I'm like, oh, yep, I know about
Yep.
that. Yep, remember that. But so obviously, as longtime fans, you're bound to have some favorites of various different things. So I'm gonna ask you about those now. Favorite Star Wars book, Legends, canon, comic, doesn't matter.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go. I'll give you like a current favorite, and then I'll go all time because
Mm,
the current favorite I would say is probably Light of the Jedi. I
mm,
uh, had high hopes for the High Republic, and then when it came out, I was like, yes,
mm,
exactly what I wanted. Thank you. But all time, I think I'm gonna go with the first X-wing book, Rogue Squadron, by
mm.
Michael Stackpole. Uh, I just hadn't read anything like that. That was probably in like 95 or 96 when I was reading those, and I hadn't experienced Star Wars like that. I always loved the pilots, but just seeing a story about like these non-force sensitive characters, I remember loving that.
Hmm. For me, I'll do the same. I'll do all time. I think Lost Stars. That was like one of the early canon books that I remember reading and just loving.
Mm.
And something a bit more recent would be Rise of the Red Blade. I love
Okay.
everything Delilah Dawson has done so far, and that book just hit the spot for me.
Oh yeah, Lost Stars. I'm waiting on the sequel. I need to know what Thane and Cyan are up to. And Light of
Hmm.
the Jedi. I remember reading that. I had to read it twice. Once because the first time I read it only so I could understand what was happening in the Rising Storm. Because the reason I got into the High Republic was Ty York, and I was like, she just
Hmm.
sounds like the coolest character. So they're like, my Element 7 was just like, you gotta read Light of the Jedi first. And I was like, all right. And so it's the night before the Rising Storm comes out. And I put on Light of the Jedi at like 2.5 speed and I just go. And then I was like, okay. And then after I read the Rising Storm, I was like, okay, I need to understand this a little bit more. So let me go read.
Slow it down a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit.
Yeah. Let
That's
me drop it down.
I just did that for Dark Disciple because it's sounding like it's going to be relevant for the Bad Batch. So I
Mm,
threw it back on at 3 times speed, and I had the Kindle book too, which it's great because it'll like highlight the words as it's being read.
yeah.
So I was just like I blew through it, and that was helpful.
Yeah. What are so this is Legends canon, any era doesn't matter. 3 of your favorite characters.
Ooh. Um, I'll go Leia, Ray, and R2D2. Those are like usually in my top 5 at any given moment. Leia is like my go-to
Mm-hmm.
top favorite character. Ray is one of my favorites from more of the recent stuff, and then R2 is just MVP. Nothing gets done without him, kind of deal.
Facts.
I'm solid in my top 2. I feel like my third shifts around a lot, and I also feel like I need a more basic answer because I feel like a hipster answer. My favorite 2 are Biggs Darklighter and Cobb Vanth. Uh, so I need to pick someone like I think Han Solo is probably my favorite of the original 3. I always
Mm-hmm.
loved him growing up, so I'll put Han as my third favorite character.
Yeah. I'm ashamed that I didn't say Grogu, but I wanted to pick characters that, have a little bit more substance to
That's
them.
true. Grogu has character, but not.
He's always up there for me, but as far as characters that have been around a little bit longer and mean something more to the fandom, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like Biggs and Cobb don't exactly have a lot of screen time.
Well, they mean more to you
Yeah,
I,
for
I
different reasons.
but Grogu can mean a lot to you.
Yeah, he's just adorable.
Biggs and Cobb Vanth have a pretty dedicated fan base, even if they're the smaller. They love them. They love them.
That
Uh,
yeah, I'm obsessed with both of them, and now like having Cobb Vanth in there, that someone who can keep popping up and it didn't die in his first appearance. That's nice.
I remember at Motor City Comic Con last year. So I'm a member of the 501st. I do Empire Strikes Back Vader, and so a couple of my friends were at Motor City Comic Con, so they came up and they took some pictures and they did this little like shooter trooper thing, and I was up there as Vader, and the person running the shooter trooper was Cobb Vanth, and so they posted videos and photos of it, and nobody was talking about me as Vader. Everybody was like, "Who's that Cobb Vanth?" Like, "Oh my god, it's Cobb Vanth." I'm just like, "I'm there too, guys."
Vader, just, hello.
Hi. Um, Star Wars is jam packed with a lot of quotes, from the funny to the meta spiritual. With like thinking like Yoda, Empire Strikes Back. But what is your favorite Star Wars quote?
My favorite Star Wars quote, I think, is Qui-Gon's "Your focus determines your reality."
Stole one of mine. Okay.
Sorry, I got it first. That's just like one that always comes to my mind first because they're just good words to live by. It's something good to just keep in mind and remember throughout life. It's just good advice.
I'll just build off of it. I'll think of something else too. But yeah, like that is one that I think of all the time. Like, oh, are you just doom scrolling Twitter? Like, what are you focusing on right now? And how is it affecting your mood? Because it
Mm-hmm.
will.
Mm-hmm.
Or like in the Star Wars fandom, are you focusing on what you hate or what you enjoy?
Yeah.
And what are you choosing to talk about?
Mm-hmm.
For another one, I do always love who's the more foolish, the fool or the fool who follows him.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Yeah, it's funny that like the older we get, I feel like I gravitate to the more the lines that actually mean something.
The
Mm-hmm.
meaningful ones that, you know, remind us every day of how to act.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll also throw out that for some fun ones, I love everything that the pilots say. Anything that's
Great
just,
one-liners.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just like, I can't shake him, or how many guns do you think? Like when we were playing Star Wars Squadrons, it was just constantly that, and it was so much fun.
I with the Qui-Gon quote, your focus determines your reality, and how you apply it to the fandom. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I am doing this show, is because there's so much. There are so many people out there that focus on the things that they don't like in the Star Wars universe, whether that's through the content they create, or just on Star Wars Twitter, or even Star Wars TikTok. And I wanted to focus on people that love Star Wars and talk about what they love about it, because we all come from different walks of life, different ages, different backgrounds, and yet we love this space opera Star Wars, and reasons why we love it and what we love about it are so varied as we are, that should be what we focus on, and not like, oh well, I don't like this. Okay, well, what do you like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%
Fully
agree. Yeah.
And then I had Kelly Knox on this show earlier, and she did the Be More Obi-Wan book, and I asked her what advice would Obi-Wan give someone that was in a dating like snafu, and she was just like, who's the fool, the fool or the one that follows the fool? And I was just like, couldn't we all have learned from that if we were younger and in bad relationships? It's like,
Yeah, that's one to go back to.
I'm a longtime music fan. Like, my father's a musician, so I was raised to love music. And Star Wars is the cream of the crop when you're talking, music and movies. So, what is your favorite musical piece in Star Wars?
Ooh.
I think the one I always gravitate towards is the asteroid field chase.
Mm-hmm.
I love that one. I turn it all the way up every time we get to that scene.
Mm-hmm. I really enjoy. Is it the Force theme or is it Yoda's theme?
Which
like,
one?
I always get those two mixed up, but like Yoda's music is one of my favorites. But honestly, the Rey theme
Mm-hmm.
from the sequel trilogy, that music like makes me emotional anytime I hear it. It's so good. John Williams has too much talent for one man. He needs to spread that around a little bit. He is just the best. He's the best out there. So you can't go wrong with any of the Star Wars music, really.
Oh yeah. I like, so the Yoda theme where he's lifting the X-wing. I think that's just it's a transformative experience anytime you listen to it. And the asteroid field, it just gets you hype. You can instantly picture watching that scene whenever you listen to it, as the music crescendos and it just drops off at some point. I think that's one thing that John Williams is a master of in Star Wars is you'll have it's crescendoing, it's building, and then just goes silent, and then something happens back up, and you're just on a roller coaster of music.
Yeah, he's like a storyteller in his own right when it comes to music.
I love reading or listening to stories about George Lucas, hearing the music for the first time, and him being like, oh my God, I actually have a movie. Like, after so much stress and so much chaos working on A New Hope, when he finally heard the score, he was like, it's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. I sent you guys these questions ahead of time, and I always leave a question out. This is a mystery Jackbox question that's tailored to you all. So you've said you've been on this, the Star Wars Explained journey for almost 10 years now. What are some of the favorite moments that you've had over the course of this decade?
Definitely one of the coolest moments was at Star Wars Celebration. What year was that? 20
Depends on what you're going to say.
Sorry, when we got to go up on stage.
Yeah, I was thinking of that too. That was 2019.
2019. We got invited to go up on the Star Wars show live stage to help them break down the new trailer that had just dropped for Rise of Skywalker. And like, I was so nervous going up there. We were up there with a couple other people, and I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. They gave me a microphone, and then I just blacked out. But
you did great.
I think I did okay. That was like kind of a sort of last minute thing too. Like, we weren't sure if we were going to do it, and then we did it, and I was like, oh my god, that was incredible.
That was wild to be just up on the Star Wars show stage, surrounded by Star Wars fans at Celebration.
Yeah.
Getting to go to the Andor premiere was pretty wild too.
Yeah.
It's all this stuff that, when we started the channel, I had no idea that it would lead to stuff like this. Like, I just wanted to talk about Star Wars because I thought it would make for a decent channel, and having no thought that, like, oh god, you're gonna get to interview authors and stuff, and and also weird things like now we're friends with several musicians that we grew up listening to and loving, but just because they also love Star Wars, it's like now we're friends with them. It's so strange.
Yeah. And then also too, like, we get fan mail sometimes and letters from people that, watch the channel, and they just have the nicest things to say to us. And it like floors me every time we get letters from people, because it makes me remember that, like, oh yeah, it's not just us sitting in a room talking to a camera while our pets are trying their best to ruin everything we do. And it's just so nice to hear from people and hear their stories, and put names to faces when we go to events and be able to meet people, other creators and fans. That kind of stuff really gets me.
I'm gonna sneak in one last question that I guess counts as a Jackbox question, but yeah. To you, what is like the quintessential moment of Star Wars to you? So like someone that's never seen it, and they're like, what is Star Wars? You get to show them like, one scene, one moment. What is it?
Ooh. I mean, you mentioned Yoda using the Force to lift the X-Wing up out of the water. I think that would be my pick. That I don't know how much of that scene I would be allowed to say, but that whole scene where Luke thinks it's impossible and Yoda uses the Force, and just like that whole scene is very quintessential Star Wars to me. But it's also missing some of the silliness. Like, I would want to also include Yoda hitting R2 with a stick.
I think I'm going to go with the trench run, because I feel like I wouldn't want to jump to Empire. I wouldn't want to like spoil someone. The trench run is what made me like obsessed with Star Wars. I watched at least that scene every day for a summer. So I think it offers like a lot of the good action, tension, excitement, but also you've got some mysticism with Luke using the Force and listening to Obi-Wan. Darth Vader's there, the Death Star's there. A lot of the elements that make up Star Wars are there.
It's a big action scene.
Yeah, and it's just an awesome scene.
Well, thank you both for coming on to the show. Very much appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, before we go, where can people find you, and if you got anything like cool or exciting that you guys are working on that you want to plug, go for it.
You can find us on YouTube at Star Wars Explained. We're on all the social medias at Star Wars Explained, TikTok, Instagram, all the fun stuff that's out there. What are we doing that's new and fun? We're doing FAQ videos for all the movies.
That's the thing I was gonna say. We're kind of going through and answering like all the questions that I have collected over the past 10 years. And it's like the ones that I see over and over and over again for each movie, I'm collecting them all and I'm doing like one big video for each movie. So we've done A New Hope. Empire Strikes Back is going to come out at the end of February. Jedi will be in March. And then I'm going to try to keep doing them one a month. The Phantom Menace one should be out for May, so that'll be fun. But then we've got Bad Batch on the way, so we'll be covering Bad Batch with reviews and live streams and other videos and shorts and all that good stuff.
Yep, the Bad Batch is going to break our hearts with season 3.
Oh, for sure.
Well, thank you again for coming on. Make sure you all check out Star Wars Explained wherever they can be found across the various social medias. They make wonderful content. And I hope you enjoyed this video and this interview with these two wonderful people. And remember, until next time, there are more of us.